Well, we said that this was a trap game, and Carolina stepped in it.
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And unfortunately, in this episode, we got to talk about the number 3 North Carolina Tar Heels 74-73 loss. What do you know? In Atlanta to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And like I said, man, we said it was a trap game and Carolina stepped in it. And I'm going to preface it by saying that I myself did not believe that there was any way possible that this North Carolina team would come down to Atlanta and lose to this 9-11 Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket team. I just didn't think that it was possible, man, to be completely honest with you. And it just goes to show you that any given night, if you don't bring your A game, you can take an L. And there's a couple of reasons, okay? So I'm going to start off with the simple fact of the matter, going into the box score, because I do believe that there are a couple of things that attributed to this, and obviously every game is like that. But if you look at Carolina's box score, Carolina-Georgia Tech box score, Carolina shot 36.4% from the field. Georgia Tech shot 41%. North Carolina shot 28.6% from 3. Georgia Tech shot 45%. North Carolina had 11 turnovers. Georgia Tech had 14 turnovers. And North Carolina actually out-rebounded Georgia Tech 48-47. So they were +7 on the rebounding side. What was crazy to me, though, is despite the field goal percentage and the three-point shooting percentage discrepancy, here's where Carolina lost the game. Free throws. Carolina was 9 for 17, 52.9% from the stripe. Georgia Tech, 15 and 17, 88.2% from the stripe. And now that we've looked at those team stats, I think it's very important to to talk about those free throws, because there was a stint where Elliot Cadeau, entering the second half, had 0 stinking fouls called against him. 0. And he had like 12 minutes of burn in the second half, and they called 5 fouls on him. And some of them were egregious. And you guys have heard me talk about this before. I don't know what it is, but that kid cannot catch a stinking break when it comes to playing defense against anybody, because the moment it seems like he touches them, they're calling a foul on him. And you know, obviously some of them are going to be fouls. But Elliott, I don't know if I've seen anybody get so many touch fouls, like fouls that don't impact the play whatsoever. None more so than his 5th, which was an absolute travesty, dude. I mean, to foul out the point guard, I guess you could play some of the onus on stinking Elliott, but to foul out Carolina's starting point guard with about 8 minutes to play off of some touch foul that had nothing to do with the play, 30 feet from the basket, is just unacceptable. It's unnecessary, and it's ridiculous. And, although North Carolina and Georgia Tech shot the same amount of free throws in this basketball game, it was the timing of those free throws, and it was who was going to the charity stripe for those free throws. And, I'm not saying that Carolina shouldn't have stinking obviously hit their free throws. They had some good free throw shooters there too. But George, I'm telling you, man, it was like 3 possessions in a row. That kid is on the stinking line. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just unacceptable, man. And, we talked about it in the live stream. This is just, TV Teddy type stuff right here, man. I just unbelievable. Unbelievable the discrepancies between the way that they were calling fouls, tic-tac fouls, against North Carolina when they're playing defense, And then Georgia Tech is getting away with all kinds of stinking body every time Carolina goes to the rack. None more so than when R.J. Davis took it to the stinking bucket with 4 seconds left. And, he's going to the rack, and you got their big man who's impeding him. They make contact. R.J. shoots a stinking fadeaway because that's all he's got, because the dude just bumped him. He's probably got 40 pounds on RJ, and he bumps him off his spot as he's shooting. No call. No call. And I think that it's ridiculous. And it's one of the reasons why I believe that Carolina lost this game is, you got to also look at the referees. And I know a lot of Georgia Tech fans are going to give me pushback on that. And I've even heard people say, well, Carolina is usually, the beneficiary of said calls. Hey, man, not in this game. Not in this game. So if they weren't in this game, then that in and of itself just proves itself not to be true, because, they allowed Georgia Tech to absolutely commit armed robberies against Carolina almost every time they went to the bucket. So let's get into the box score real quick, man. Harrison Ingram finishes with 8 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists. Armando Bacot finishes with 9 points, 9 rebounds. Elliot Cadeau finishes with 5 points, 5 assists. He only had 1 turnover. Our starting point guard gets fouled out with 8 minutes left. He's got a 5-to-1 turnover to assist ratio, but you've taken him out of the stinking game on some ridiculous foul calls. R.J. Davis shot 11 for 24, 3 for 8 from 3, 3 for 4 from the line, finished with 28 points. He was the only Tar Heel in double figures. The only one. And you know what? The simple fact of the matter is that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable, because RJ needs some help, man, and he had to scrap for those 28. He scrapped for him, bro. He really did. And, even though RJ has been great, he's got to have some kind of help, dude. He's just got to have some kind of help on the offensive end, man. Cormac Ryan finishes 3 for 14 from the field. 3 for 10 from the three-point line. He had 9 points. So he shot 30% from 3, and he shot less than 25% from the floor. And I was talking to some of the guys about this, man. As good as he is on the defensive end of the floor, I'm wondering if it's not one of those things where him and Seth need a stinking switch. Have Cormac coming off the bench, man. I know that he's a senior, but, how much longer can we do this, man? Honestly. And maybe he just needs a game or two where he's coming off the bench and let Seth, because Seth is a great defender too. And Seth is a terrific athlete. And, for a while there, Seth was knocking down open threes. So, maybe it's one of those things, man, where he needs to, instead of Cormac getting 35 minutes, maybe Seth needs to get 30 to 35 minutes. Maybe Cormac is the one who needs to come off the bench and he needs to get the 22 minutes. I don't know, man. That's just me positing, maybe some different scenarios. Another thing that some of the guys were talking about is Jalen and Armando, on the floor at the same time. I understand why maybe Coach Davis doesn't want to go to that lineup just because you want one to be able to spell the other one. Hey, Jalen had a great game tonight. If you ask me, Jalen finished with 8 points, 5 rebounds in 11 minutes. 8 and 5 and 11. Armando had 9 and 9 and 29. So that just kind of goes to show you the efficiency that Jalen had tonight. And it might have been one of those nights, man, where he should have got, more burn, because he was more effective, in the middle of that zone defense. He was more effective down on the blocks. He had a nice little turnaround jumper. Maybe he should have got some more burn. But at the end of the day, Georgia Tech beats the North Carolina Tar Heels 74-73. Carolina moves to 17-4 9-1 in the conference. And that kind of does make this Duke game coming up big, because now Carolina's got a loss. Duke's got 2 losses. If Duke were to somehow to come into Chapel Hill and win that game, well, now they both got 2 losses and Duke's got the tiebreaker. And that's why this game against the Blue Devils on February 3rd is huge now, man. It's stinking huge. Really big game. Carolina's got to win it. But this was disappointing, man. This was disappointing. Yes, all winning streaks got to come to an end, but I'm tired of teams, especially the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets down in Atlanta, being a house of horrors. I mean, as bad as the football loss was, this is one of those ones where you're the number 3 team in the country and you lose to a 9-11 team. And it hurts a little bit. It's not how it's supposed to be, man. So you guys let me know what you think about this stinking game down in the comments section, man. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to the content. Hey, I appreciate everybody's well wishes and prayers and everything, man, for what happened to me earlier today. I'm good, just banged up. And I tell you what, losing to Georgia Tech in Atlanta did not stinking make anything better. So, like I said, man, comment down in the comment section, like, share, subscribe to the channel. I love you, Tar Heel Nation, and we'll catch you on the next one, baby.